Hi, I'm Susan, and today I want to talk about a number that stops people in their tracks every single time I bring it up. $50,000. That's roughly how much the average retiree leaves on the table over the course of their retirement, simply because of a handful of Social Security decisions nobody sat them down and explained properly. And here's what gets me about this one. It's not because people are careless. It's because the Social Security system is confusing on purpose. Or at least it feels that way. And the people at the counter, bless them, they can only tell you what you specifically ask about. They're not going to volunteer, "Hey, by the way, you're about to cost yourself $30,000. That part is on us to figure out. So that's exactly what we're doing today. 10 real mistakes, real dollars, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which ones might apply to you or to someone you love. Let's start with the big one, the one I hear about more than anything else. Mistake number 1. Claiming benefits the very first moment you're eligible, at age 62, without understanding what that actually costs you. Now, I want to be clear. There are absolutely good reasons to claim early. Health, family needs, a job that's run its course. This isn't about shaming anyone's choice. This is about making sure it's an informed choice. Here's the math nobody explains clearly enough. Your full retirement age, depending on your birth year, is somewhere between 66 and 67. If you claim at 62, instead of waiting for that full age, your monthly check isn't just a little smaller. It's permanently reduced by roughly 25 to 30%. Forever. Not for a few years, for the rest of your life. And it compounds. If you live into your 80s or 90s, which more and more of us are doing, that gap between what you could have had and what you settled for adds up to tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes far more. Mistake number 2, the flip side of that same coin, not understanding what you gain by waiting past full retirement age, all the way to age 70. For every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age up to age 70, your benefit grows by about 8%. Guaranteed. Not if the market does well. Guaranteed. Every single year. Think about that for a second. There is no investment on earth that guarantees you 8% a year, risk-free, backed by the federal government. And yet most people don't even know this option exists, let alone that it's one of the best guaranteed returns available to anyone at that stage of life. Mistake number 3, and this one breaks my heart every time I see it happen. Widows and widowers claiming their survivor benefit the wrong way or at the wrong time. When a spouse passes away, the surviving spouse is often eligible for a survivor benefit based on what the deceased spouse earned. But here's what almost nobody explains. You may actually have a choice to claim your own retirement benefit first and let the survivor benefit continue growing, or the other way around, depending on which one is larger and when. Getting that order wrong, claiming the smaller benefit first when you could have structured it differently, can cost a surviving spouse tens of thousands of dollars over their remaining years, at exactly the moment in life when they can least afford to lose it. Let me give you a simple example, just to make this real. Say a wife is entitled to her own retirement benefit of around $1,400 a month, and her late husband's benefit, the survivor benefit, would come out to around $2,000 a month once it's fully grown. In a case like that, it may make sense to claim her own smaller benefit first, at a reduced rate if needed, and let that larger survivor benefit continue growing until it hits its maximum. But if nobody explains that option exists, most widows simply claim whichever benefit shows up first on the paperwork and never know there was a better way sitting right there. Mistake number 4. Not checking your earnings record for errors. Ever. Not even once. Your future Social Security benefit is calculated based on your highest 35 years of earnings. If even 1 or 2 of those years got recorded wrong, a wrong employer, a missing year, a typo in your earnings, your benefit calculation is wrong too, and it stays wrong until somebody catches it. The tricky part is, Social Security isn't going to call you up and say, "Hey, we think we made a mistake." You have to go find it yourself. The good news, this one's simple to check. You create a free My Social Security account directly on the SSA.gov website, and you can see your entire earnings history, year by year, right there in black and white. Mistake number 5, going back to work after claiming early without understanding the earnings limit. Now, this one confuses so many people, so let me slow down here. If you claim Social Security before your full retirement age and you're still working and earning above a certain limit, Social Security will temporarily withhold part of your benefit. Not permanently, temporarily, and you do eventually get credit for it later. But if you don't know this rule exists ahead of time, that surprise reduction can feel like a punch to the gut when that check comes in smaller than expected. Here's a rough example so this feels less abstract. Let's say your full retirement age benefit is set to be $1,600 a month, and you decide to claim at 62 instead, still working part-time, earning above that year's limit. Social Security may withhold a portion of your checks for those months you're over the limit. It can feel alarming when that first check arrives lower than you budgeted for. The part that eases the sting a little, once you reach full retirement age, your monthly benefit actually gets recalculated upward to account for the months that were withheld. It's not truly lost, it's more like delayed. But if you don't know that ahead of time, it can cause a lot of unnecessary worry. Mistake number 6. Divorced individuals not realizing they may still be entitled to benefits based on their ex-spouse's earnings record. I know, this surprises people every time I mention it. If your marriage lasted 10 years or longer and you're currently unmarried, you may be eligible for a spousal benefit based on your ex-spouse's work history. And here's the part that really surprises folks. It doesn't reduce what your ex-spouse receives at all. And in many cases, they don't even find out you claimed it. Say you were married for 18 years and your ex-spouse earned significantly more than you did throughout their career. Even decades after the divorce, even if they've remarried, you may still be able to claim a benefit worth up to half of what they're entitled to at their full retirement age, if that amount is larger than your own. I've talked to people who went years, sometimes decades, without ever knowing this option was sitting right there available to them. All right, let me pause here for a second because I want to ask you something directly. Of the mistakes we've covered so far, claiming too early, missing the delayed credit, survivor benefit order, earnings record errors, the earnings limit, or the divorced spouse benefit, which one made you go, "Wait, I didn't know that"? Tell me in the comments below. And if you've got a Social Security question that's been sitting in the back of your mind, something you've always wondered about but never quite asked anyone, drop that in the comments too. I go through every single one, and a lot of the topics we cover on this channel come directly from questions you all bring to me right here. All right, let's keep going, because there are 4 more mistakes I need to walk you through. And honestly, some of these are just as costly as the ones we've already covered. Mistake number 7. Not realizing you need 40 work credits. That's roughly 10 years of work where you paid into Social Security to qualify for your own retirement benefit at all. This one matters especially for anyone who spent years doing informal work, cash jobs, or work that wasn't properly reported. Those years may not have counted toward your record, which means your benefit or even your eligibility could be smaller than you'd expect. This also comes up a lot for people who spent years raising a family or caring for a relative outside of paid work. Those years, understandably, don't add credits to the record, and if someone doesn't have enough working years elsewhere to make up the difference, they may end up with no retirement benefit of their own at all, only qualifying instead through a spouse's record. If you're even a little unsure whether you've hit that 40 credit mark, that same free account on ssa.gov will show you exactly where you stand. Mistake number 8, and this one catches retirees off guard almost every single tax season. Not planning for the fact that Social Security benefits can actually be taxed. I know, it surprises people every time. Depending on your total household income, up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can be subject to federal income tax. Now, this doesn't apply to everyone. It depends on what's called your combined income, which factors in your other retirement income too: pensions, withdrawals from retirement accounts, even part-time work. But the mistake is simple: not planning for it at all, and then getting hit with a tax bill that feels like it came out of nowhere. I've talked with retirees who took a larger withdrawal from a retirement account in December just to cover holiday expenses, without realizing that single decision pushed their combined income over a threshold and made more of their Social Security taxable that year. It's not that the rule is unfair, it's just that almost nobody explains it in advance when it could actually be planned around. Mistake number 9. Married couples not coordinating their claiming strategy together. This is such a missed opportunity. So often I see both spouses just claim as soon as they're eligible, independently, without ever sitting down and asking which order actually makes sense for us as a household. Here's a strategy worth understanding. Often, it makes sense for the lower earning spouse to claim earlier, providing some income sooner, while the higher earning spouse delays all the way to 70, letting that larger benefit grow as much as possible. Why does this matter so much? Because that higher benefit doesn't just help while both spouses are alive, it becomes the survivor benefit down the road. Maximizing it isn't just about one person's check. It's about protecting whichever spouse ends up living longer. Couples who never have this conversation often end up with two smaller checks instead of one carefully optimized household strategy. And that difference, over 20 or 30 years of retirement, can be enormous. Picture a couple where one spouse would receive around $1,800 a month at full retirement age, and the other around $2,600. If the higher earner delays until 70, that $2,600 benefit could grow to somewhere around $3,400 a month. Multiply that difference out over a 20 or 25-year retirement, and you're looking at a six-figure gap, all from one household conversation that most couples simply never have. And finally, mistake number 10. Not knowing that Social Security actually gives you a do-over under certain conditions if you change your mind. Most people have no idea this exists, and I understand why. It's tucked away in the fine print, and nobody at the counter is going to bring it up unless you ask about it directly. If you claimed benefits and, within 12 months, you realize it wasn't the right move, maybe you went back to work, maybe your circumstances changed, you can actually withdraw your application entirely. You'd need to repay what you've received so far, but then your record resets completely as if you never claimed at all, and your benefit can keep growing from there. It's a narrow window, just 12 months, and it does require paying back what you received. But for the right situation, it can undo a decision that otherwise would have followed someone for the rest of their life. So let's bring all 10 of these together, because I don't want you leaving this video with just information. I want you leaving with something you can actually act on this week. Here's your checklist. 1. Understand exactly what claiming early costs you versus what waiting gains you before you make that decision. 2. If you're a widow or widower, look carefully at the order you claim your own benefit versus your survivor benefit. 3. Create your free account at ssa.gov and check your earnings record for errors today, not someday. 4. If you're claiming early and still working, understand the earnings limit ahead of time so it's not a surprise. 5. If you were married 10 years or more and you're now divorced, look into whether you qualify for a spousal benefit on your ex's record. 6. Confirm you've got your 40 work credits. 7. Plan ahead for potential taxes on your benefit. 8. If you're married, sit down together and talk through your claiming strategy as a household, not as two separate decisions. And 9. Remember, if you truly need to, you have a 12-month window to change your mind. I know this was a lot to take in. Social Security really shouldn't be this complicated. But since it is, my job is just to make sure you're the one holding all the information, instead of finding out what you missed 5 years too late. So here's what I want from you. Pick just one of these 10, the one that hit closest to home, and go look into it this week. Call the Social Security office, check your online account, or just start the conversation with your spouse if you haven't already. Baby steps. You don't have to solve all 10 today. And if this video helped even one thing click into place for you, that's exactly why I do this. Tell me in the comments which mistakes surprised you most. I truly do read them all. If you're not subscribed yet, come join us because there is so much more of your money and your benefits that nobody ever sits down and explains properly. That's what we're here for. Until next time, take care of yourselves and go check that Social Security account. It's your money. Make sure it's working as hard for you as you worked for it.